Hey everybody, my name's Kang, and in this video we're going to be talking about how much I spent, saved, and invested in 2022. So I did one of these videos last year and I really enjoyed making it because I'm a big fan of financial transparency and I'm in love with like those how much I spent in a week or like a month kind of videos. So I thought I'd take it to sort of an extreme and do it for a whole year. So first off, we're going to start with what everyone probably cares about the most, pay. So here we have my last paycheck of 2022. So as you can see here, my year-to-date total pay is $124,187.26. But that's not including my stock package. When I saw my offer, it was actually listed for $30,000, but because of market fluctuations, it's actually dipped down to 27. So once you add up the stock award, the base pay, and the bonus, my total compensation ends up being around $150,000. So this year I maxed my 401k, which reduces my taxable earnings by 20 grand. You can also hear that they added the stock awards and some other stuff, basically totaling up the total taxable earnings to $131,000. So now we get to taxes. So federal income tax, I pay 24 grand, Social Security, I pay 9 grand, Medicare tax, I pay 2, and then my total taxes withheld is $36,156. So one great thing about working in the state of Washington is that there's no state income tax, which is great. So after Uncle Sam, I now do my after-tax deductions. In total, I invested $18,000 into my ESPP. So after all the deductions, the taxes, the 401k, the ESPP, the total amount that hits my bank account is $56,865.13. After going through all of that, there's some things that I want to talk about really quickly. Every year, each company usually has like an annual review where they'll give you your bonus and then they'll also give you an increase in your salary just for like inflation. So for me, my bonus was around $10,000. I believe it was like 9,600 or 9,200 or something like that. And I also got like a 7% raise, bringing my base salary from $110,000 at the start of the year to $118,000. Now, a few months after that, I also got a promotion through work. I'm still a software engineer. I didn't level up to software engineer 2, but it's like a mid-level promotion, like in between the two levels. So with that promotion, my salary increased from like 108, 107, all the way up to $127,000. So going into 2023, my base salary will be $127,000, which is something I'm really, really grateful for because going from 110 to 127 in 1 year is a pretty big jump if you ask me. That's like, I don't know what the percentage is. I'll put it on screen. So I guess going forward into 2023, my advice is to plan only according to your base salary because you don't know what your stock is going to be worth when you eventually get it. It's better to be safe than sorry and to base your financial decisions off of your base salary, which you know that you're going to get. Of course, barring that you don't get laid off, knock on wood, right? So now we're going to talk about how much I invested in 2022. So first off, I maxed my 401k and my employer also contributes 50 cents to every dollar that I invest, which brings my total to $30,750. So next up, we have M1 Finance. In this app, I invested a total of $22,000. After that, we have a regular brokerage account through Fidelity, and in that, I invested $5,500. After that, we have my stock award. So when I signed my offer a year and a half ago, the number was 30,000. This year, it was 27 because of the market. And then after that, they still take their tax on top, which is around $8,000. So what actually was submitted into my brokerage account was $19,227. I also contributed to my company's ESPP plan, which I personally think is a great idea. I have a whole video on it if you want to watch it right here. But in total, my ESPP this year, I invested $18,403. Next up, we have my Roth IRA, which I invested $6,000 into in March when I got my tax return. Next up, we have crypto. This year, I invested $9,000 into crypto. And yeah, it's not been a great year for the cryptocurrency scene in general. I personally invest $100 each week into both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I'll probably continue to do so into 2023. So for those of you who weren't keeping count, the total I invested in 2022 was $105,930.28. Looking back, I'm really happy with how much I've been able to invest this year. I would say that my investing strategy is pretty aggressive. I think in 2022, I focus a lot on investing and kind of let other things slip by. And that's something I'm going to work on and something I'll talk about a little bit later. So now we're going to go over how much I spent in 2022. This is going to be kind of difficult for me, obviously not for you. You're just watching. Mostly because I switched from using my own spreadsheet to using Mint midway through the year. So the total I spent in 2022 was $40,439.53. So like I said, it was a bit hard to tally all that up, but I think 40,000 is a pretty accurate number, maybe give or take 500, which is kind of a big margin, but you know, it is what it is. So now let's actually go through some of those transactions. So let's first talk about my biggest monthly category, which is rent. So I actually moved midway throughout the year, which is why this background is different. For the first 8 months of the year, I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill. The rent plus the utilities ended up being around $1850 a month, which is a really good deal. I'll get a little bit into why I moved a little bit later when we get to the next portion. Next up, we have groceries. My grocery bill fluctuates from like $250 to like $400 depending on the month. Some other recurring expenses that I have is my phone plan, which are around $37 a month. I also have a gym membership, which is around $30 a month. I also have restaurants, which probably averages around $100 a month, sometimes less, sometimes more. Fast food, which is around $50 a month, and transportation, which is around $25 a month. So like I said a bit earlier, midway through the year, I switched from my spreadsheet to Mint, which you can obviously see now on the screen. This is a much easier way to look at my transactions, I think. So talking about moving platforms, the reason that this month, August, is so high is because I actually moved from my 1-bedroom apartment to a 3-bedroom apartment also in Capitol Hill to live with my friends. I covered all the moving expenses and I eventually got paid back later on. So really quickly, I'm gonna talk a little bit about why I moved. So my new rent in my 3-bedroom apartment, including utilities, is around $1,300 a month. So like I said earlier, I could pretty comfortably afford the 1-bedroom. So the money thing wasn't really the main motivator in me moving. Since I was working from home, it got pretty lonely on a lot of days, especially in the winter when it was raining a ton and like no one wanted to go outside. So some of my friends were moving to Seattle and I was over my big boy phase of living by myself. So I decided to move in with them, save some money and, make some friends. So my second highest category is travel, which if we include my previous spreadsheet is around $8,000, which is worth every single penny. This year I did a ton of traveling. I went to Hawaii, I road tripped down the Oregon coast, and I went to Portugal and Spain. So after travel, my third highest category is sustenance. After food, we have bills and utilities, which is somehow $3,000. Yeah, so bills and utility ended up being my security deposit, which I paid for my friends and they eventually paid me back. Next up, we have shopping. So this year I spent $2,600 on shopping. I'm gonna be honest, I could keep going, reading down the rest of my transactions, going one by one, all the different categories, but it's gonna be pretty boring and a waste of our time because if I'm being realistic, I'm a pretty boring guy when it comes to that stuff, right? Like the big things are already out of the way and everything else is not that interesting. What I think is a better use of my time and your time is to talk about my regrets on spending and investing this year. So like I said earlier, I invested around $105,000 this year, which is a lot. I mean, regardless of however you spin it, $105,000 is a lot to invest in 1 year, especially at 24 years old. But looking back, I would not have been able to invest that much money without making sacrifices. Those sacrifices meant saying no to a lot of things that I would rather have said yes to. Now, don't get me wrong, 2022 was a great year, but being in this like financial grind set where I want to invest as much as I can, like I think I've min-maxed too much, if that makes sense. So I think that's my major key takeaway from looking over my last year's expenses was to basically invest less, right? Like slightly less. Honestly, like all this money in the bank and invested is great, right? I really think that you should invest money and you should plan for your future, but like I could literally die tomorrow. And that's not me saying that I'm like totally gonna reject society, reject money and like just basically spend all the money I have and have fun. But there has to be a balance, right? And I think last year made me realize that I was valuing future me's happiness more than my current happiness. And I just want to reiterate that I'm so grateful to be in this position where I'm able to invest this much and even earn this much at the age of 24. Not saying that I didn't work hard to get where I am, because I think I did, but like there's a certain level of privilege that you need to have in order to get here, if you get what I mean. And I don't want this video to come off as super braggy and like boasting, oh, I make this much money, blah, blah, blah. Because in reality, like I'm not that kind of person. I'm just trying to openly share my finances because I honestly think that financial transparency is important. But you guys can let me know down in the comments if you think that this content is useful or not useful, if you want to see more of it. One of my New Year's resolutions for 2023 is to be more accountable with my finances. So I'm going to be doing a video like this every single month where I go over my expenses and use Mint like real time to show you exactly how I budget. So if you want an accountability partner for 2023, make sure to hit subscribe because I'm going to be trying my best to make those videos. So if you're still feeling nosy after watching all of that, you can watch this video right here where I go over the exact same thing in 2022.